Hi, I guess we can go ahead and go live now. It's getting real close to time. It says I'm live, and it should be about 6:45. We're just a few seconds away from that as we get things started here. The delay between when I say something, this side of the screen is live, this side of the screen is what you're seeing. So we already have a. Oh, I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with our Thursday live stream. And we've got, since this is the first live stream of the month, we've got our giveaway. The giveaway for April was two family radio service radios that were sent to me for review, which I did some time ago, and they've been kind of sitting in the closet ever since. And somebody can enjoy them, your kids, or you go out on a camping trip and want to keep track of somebody. These are good for a range of, a couple miles out in the woods, something like that. Let's see, we've got Optical Man Jeff has checked in already. KE0KRO says, hello, Dave, from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it is 74 degrees and sunny. Welcome spring. We welcome it here too. It is right now 66 with 19% humidity and a very gentle breeze of about 8 miles an hour. Edom Blakovich says, hello, sir, from KD9WNV. And Neil Marsh says, good morning, Dave and all. Michael C, KI5AE, hello, Dave. Reed KB8AS, hello, everyone from here in West Virginia. Kevin Broadstock says, good morning from Australia, where it is already tomorrow. And Mark Saunders, hi, all Augies. Jerry Sherrar, I used to be a zero. Now N9XR. Yeah, I am a zero, I guess. when my wife and I moved here from Southern California, I was KD6SH, and I decided when I moved here that I was going to move all the way and go ahead and get the zero call sign, and got KE0OG. And that's actually an advanced call sign. When I upgraded to extra, I decided to keep it because I'd already been published under that call sign. So I'll be KE0OG forever, I guess. Steve Kleise, love the QRZ articles. Trying. Yeah, I think he means the QST articles. Mark Saunders, if you have time, Dave, quick question. I'm adding a 17-meter module or mobile web, no mast, to my Hustler 6 BTV. At which position should I place the aluminum bracket for the resonator and why? I would have to say I have no idea. I'm not familiar with that antenna, but if somebody else online tonight is, please jump in about that and how that works with the Hustler 6 BTV. Glenn Martin says hello from N0QFT. Hugo Quintana says, thank you for all you do for the radio world from Yuma, Arizona. It won't be long before we get to 120 degrees. It can get quite warm down there. Very warm. Terrence, 2 Echo 0, India Papa Kilo. Hi, Dave. Hope all is well with you. It is. That's from Terrence in the UK. Steve Roberts, KG5QH in Abilene, Texas, says hello. Philip Canterbury, hello, Dave, from Northwest Florida, where it's 80 degrees. Yeah. Philip Canterbury, and for PRC. Charles Layton, hello, Augies. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave, and Augies Worldwide. N5 KVO from the hill country of South Texas, currently 79, but storms headed our way tonight. Oh, I got to tell you a story about a storm. Today, Our motorhome was in for service at the Ford dealer because Ford makes the chassis that the thing sits on. We had trouble with it not starting. And so I got a call from the guy. He says, just want to let you know your RV is ready and your dog is fine. And I went, what do you mean, dog? Our dog's here at home. Well, we went up to pick it up, and sure enough, there was a dog inside. A very well behaved, beautiful, well kept dog um, by the name of Lucy. And fortunately, on her collar was a phone number, and I dialed the phone number, got hold of a woman, and said, "Are you missing a dog?" And she certainly was missing a dog. There had been some thunder earlier in the area, and it spooked the dog, who's had issues with, well, they said she had PTSD, but I don't know what she's been through, but certainly a beautiful and low-key dog. But we were very, very happy to reunite the dog with its owner. Considering how close we were to where they lived, we think what happened was the dog was scared by the thunderstorm, ran away, ended up by the Ford dealer, and somebody had the door open to our motorhome so they could do their servicing and stuff like that. And the dog thought this is going to be a great place to rest and just jumped in the motorhome and went to sleep on a pile of pillows. And I guess nobody noticed. The dog blended in perfectly with the pillows. And then apparently when one of their guys was moving the RV to a different service bay or something, the dog went up to greet him, scared him half to death. And I'm going, I would not leave my dog in my motorhome, but there was a dog, and fortunately the dog had only been lost for about 3 hours. And so the dog didn't do anything untoward inside the motorhome. So we're very grateful for that. Poor dog. It's such a gentle dog. I'd love to have that dog, but we have our dog. We have a dog. I don't know that I could do with two of them. The chases are on there everywhere. So we are all set with the dog. Okay, let's see. Good evening, Dave Augies, N5 KVO from Hill Country. Let's see. 17 meters seems active today, even more so than 10 or 40. Good. Greetings, Dave and all Augies. A mild day here in Western Oregon, KK7CLY. Charles Layton, hello, Steve Roberts. Nice to see you. Neil Marsh says to Leo, did you get to enjoy the regional electric storm this morning? Mark Saunders, 17 meters is my refuge from contest days. Yes. Steve Roberts, you as well, Chuck. Benjo Sevilla, high on 73s OG from Concord, California. WRUT 935, GMRS user for 6 months now. Well, I'm glad it's working for you. Paul C, VK4 DPC. Hello, Dave and fellow Augies. Greetings from VK land. That's Australia. Elias Acevedo. Hello, Mr. OG. I'm visiting in Tijuana, Mexico. From Elias Acevedo from Compton, California. Very good. Leo Gustafson. I temporarily fixed the stock microphone on my IC7300 by repurposing the CPAP hose fixture to elevate the microphone closer to my mouth and using the transmit button on the radio. Well, there you go. Make something work. That's what we were doing this week, trying to play with the ARRL's 40-meter kit antenna. We added some wire to make it into a 80-meter antenna as well. That worked. And we also added a capacitor at the top to move that 80 up to 75 without affecting the other bands. And took a bunch of measurements to show that that was correct. In let's see, this is the May issue of QST. In the May issue of QST, in my column, see if I can find it here. I talk about extending the, extending the 40 meter in end-fed half wave to 80 and then to 75. And I'm pleased to report we did that this week and it worked. Now, I said in the article that I would do a video about it. Now, I've done videos about various phases of this thing, but I'm kind of going to put a summary video together over the next couple days and get that up there. Okay, let's see. Ralph Leyland, hi Dave and everyone, K4TA in Fork Union, Virginia. Johnny Vu, hello from W8DD, Cleveland, Ohio. Madison County Sound Lab, good evening from Montague, New York, from N1XV. Edhem Blakovich, I think. Question, do they make an automatic audio loudness equalizer, say between a scanner and an external speaker? Oh, don't know of any. Now, the people to call who do sound stuff is Sweetwater. Sweetwater Sound or Sweetwater Audio or Sweetwater Music or whatever it is. They have every device known to mankind that does anything with audio and recording and microphones and speakers and amplifiers and everything like that. They've got everything under the sun, and they might have something that you can do. Now, if you want an audio equalizer just for your radio, of course, that's what the automatic level control is for, or AVC, automatic volume control. What that does is level out the signals so they all sound about the same. Now, there are pros and cons of doing that. Mostly pros. So people do it. You can set it for fast, medium, or slow, how fast it attacks. And then you can also set the let go time on the thing too. By the way, how much the AVC or AGC, automatic gain control, has to turn down the gain is directly proportional to the strength of the signal. So the amount that it has to turn down the gain is what drives your S meter. If you turn your AVC off, AGC off, generally, you won't have an S meter anymore. Okay. Leo Neal got a late start today, sleeping in before I go OTR for my work week starting tomorrow, till I figure out which Heil microphone to budget for. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about one for my 7310, but I haven't yet. Chris K0BLU, hello from St. Cloud, Minnesota, where it is sunny. Neil Marsh, Leo Gustafson was pretty impressive. Midwestern style storm, long and loud. Leo says, right on Neil. Warren Baker, hi Dave and all Augies from Chattanooga, WA4BAK. Leo Gustafson, I'm wondering how long after signing up for my ARRL membership will I start receiving QST? It takes a while because of the logistics of the magazine industry. However, you may be able to go online and see it. If you're a member, you should immediately have access to the website, and you can go in and look at the magazines immediately and see what's latest up there. Plus, they've got the history of all of the stuff before. So give that a try, meaning you know, if you're talking paper copy, probably 6 to 8 weeks. If you're talking online, it could be pretty near instantaneous. And congratulations for joining the league. I really recommend that people do that. Let's see. Chris says hello from St. Cloud, Minnesota. Let's see, Chattanooga. Okay, hello from Central Pennsylvania, KC3VUL. Chris, K0BLU, taking the fundamentals class at CW Academy this month. Very good. We covered the anatomy of a CW KE0OG, learned about cut numbers. Hope you and your other videos. Neil Marsh, does anyone have a PDF of the manual for an Outback Perth antenna? Word is the guy who builds them isn't all that responsive to email, and that has indeed been my experience so far. I don't know. You'll have to search the internet for that one. Dave AC3HT says, hello, Dave and fellow Hoggies. Greetings from northeastern Pennsylvania. Temps around 47 Fahrenheit and finally drying out from all the rain. Good. We saw in the Mississippi River Valley, there were some very serious floods. Richard B., good evening / morning from Southampton, England, M0UOO. And let's see, it is 101 UTC. And if they're in British summertime, it's 0201 UTC, or local time. So it's tomorrow already. Let's see, Leah says, thanks, Dave, regarding QST. Hello from Elton, Ohio. Steve Brannon, KC3NZY. Good to have you here. Chris, K0BLU. There is a members' dues survey online at ARRL, which covers some interesting issues. Yeah, it's a very nice way of introducing the idea that they need to raise the rates. They want to make sure that you can see something for the change in the rates. Let's see, there's an Elton, Oregon, too. Steve Brandon, my latest ham project is ham on my motorcycle using Bluetooth and an HT. I had in my helmet an intercom, a radio intercom. I talked to another guy on another motorcycle, and I had that headset connected in to a 2-meter handheld in the tank bag, and I had a push-to-talk button up on the handlebars on the left side. So I used 2 meters to talk to my wife, because I'd take the, this is years ago, I'd take the motorcycle and she'd take the Ford Explorer, and we'd go on vacation that way. And so we could mix, sometimes we'd ride together, sometimes I'd ride, sometimes we'd explore, you know, this kind of thing. It was kind of fun. We were a lot younger then. But I could get almost 10 miles ahead of her, and she could still get me on 2-meter simplex. So that was pretty good. Yeah, you can do that. Let's see. Good morning from 9M6WST, Malaysia. Hello. I made my own look-alike to the DX Commander Expedition Series antenna. Works well. The antenna principles being used in those antennas are pretty fundamental. So that makes them reasonably easy to duplicate if you want to make your own. And there's nothing wrong. The classic, DX Commander Classic, is a fan vertical, which I think is the first time I've seen anybody espouse the idea of a fan in a vertical format. I've seen it many, many times in horizontal, but this is the first time for vertical. Works very well. I've got one. We've done videos about it. Let's see. But good to see you here from Malaysia. Loyan W7LOY, hello from Centralia, Washington. Tim Mark, K1NKX, hi from Maine. Neil Marsh, Loyan, hello there, fellow CVARS member. Raymond Achman, N0JNB from Burnsville, Minnesota. Tim Harper, W5TAH, everyone needs to comment on the FCC proposal on 60 meters. The government is lobbying to take our channels. Well, they gave them to us, and I guess they can take them away. All of them are shared. The point, and we're second in line. We're not primary, we're secondary on those channels. The idea is to provide a direct method for interconnection between the ham community and the federal and state disaster people and so on and so forth. So, William Myers, KE0OG, hi, Dave and all Augies. Canis Majoris, the big dog. Greetings from Suwanee, Georgia. Is that related to the Swanee River of the famous song? And W4CWL there. Terrence, 2 Echo Zero India Papa Kilo, are you going to put the other videos back on YouTube? As I notice, you're still well down on what you had before. Obviously, it's up to you, Dave. I don't know how well we'll be able to do that. They only restored about half the videos. But then again, I had over 10 years worth of videos up there. And they're not in the proper order. They're not anywhere in the proper order. So I don't know really what can or cannot be done with that regard. I'm just glad to have the channel back and under my control. And you can imagine, you know, now that I'm snake bit on the thing, I've changed all the passwords. I've changed to 2-factor authentication on all of them. I've made, I used to have my main email address as a collector address. For all my other email addresses weren't really email addresses. They just came into my one email address. And that was a problem when they were trying to send me recovery instructions. So I have 2 other valid email addresses, and I'm using them as recovery. Now, I understand that Google is going to go away from a password to a pass key. And I don't know if that's going to be something in my phone that I don't know how I would do it. Maybe there'd be one of those Q codes or something I could hold up to the camera and log in that way. YubiKey is also makes authentication keys that's just for you and you carry. The old method of looking at security, and I'm reaching back 20 years here, okay, was that ideal security would be something you know, which would be a password, something you have, which would be a dongle or a key or a card or something like that. And then third, something that you are. And that would be a fingerprint, a face print, something like that. They said that was their model at the time for what they considered good security. Anything can be faked, I suppose. But anyway, I've also got the Google Authenticator on here, so I can provide that number too. It's like a little, what were those little digital keys way back so many years ago? I can't remember. But I had to carry one as an IBMer and use that every time I wanted to log in to the company's internal network, was to use the number that came off of that thing right there. And it worked, you know, it worked. The The problem with having those little token thingies is they get lost, stolen. You know, if you put it on your key ring and you lose your keys, which I did one time. I was going home with my wife. We were coming home from Pacificon, and it was her turn to drive. And so I was juggling a bunch of stuff and got in, and my keys fell out of my pocket and onto the parking lot. And we left. We went hightailing home. And then when it was my turn to drive, couldn't find my keys. So anyway, the hotel said, yes, somebody had turned in the keys, and so I got them back, which was very kind of them. They picked the most expensive possible way to ship it back. It cost me $20 in shipping for my keys. Good grief. But anyway, I got them back, and I'm very grateful that I did. So keys are an issue. They do get lost. Now, you can't lose your fingerprints or your face print. I guess in some extreme circumstances you can. But the password has been much maligned over history. I mean, the password has been around forever. And the password is, it refuses to die. So we'll see how successful Google is with this. Let's see. Tim Harper, W5TAH, the FCC, taking old comments out. Yeah, 60 meters. Go ahead and do comment. They have to read every comment. Okay? They don't necessarily have to agree with every comment, but they do have to read them all. Good looking one. See you at Hamvention. Oh, I wish I could. NC8XZ. If my wife and I were going to go to Hamvention, we still could, but it'd be a scramble. I mean, we've got the motorhome back. It's in good shape. We now have the stuff where we can tow the Jeep behind it, which we did not have last year. Last year, we rented a car in Dayton for my wife to drive, and that was kind of fun, kind of interesting. Met another ham, who was an Augie, who was right across the row from us at the KOA there, and we'd always commute together to there. I wish Dayton, instead of closing at 5 o'clock, would close at like 9 o'clock or something, so we'd have more hours to go around and see everything that is there. Okay, Chris, K7VEO, 2 a.m. in the UK, and looks like will be a rainy coronation weekend. Well, think of it this way. If it's raining, it's quintessentially English. So I'll watch it on, the summary on TV there. I realize that there are many monarchies around the world, and that the Hawaiian royal family still owns most of the island, even though it's one of the 50 United States. There's a monarchy there. There's monarchies all over the world. But the one that Americans think of when you ask who is the king or who is the queen, we always think of Britain. And when we rebelled against the British government and created our own independent nation, there was sort of a sense, I think, of, all right, you guys, we've whipped you out of here, but keep in touch, will you? Keep in touch. I think there's always been that sense among Americans that the British royalty isn't just the Commonwealth's, but it's America's too. I mean, Nancy Reagan couldn't help herself and curtsied to the Queen, which was a no-no for an American to do that because we're a republic. We are a republic, The Americans are ape over the royalty. And I tell you, your Prince Harry, I wish you'd take him back permanently. He is something of a muckraker. Anyway, he lives over here, and his job description is to be a celebrity. So he goes around acting like a celebrity, and all the fawning news media goes around everywhere he says. And if he blinks with his right eye a millisecond before his left eye, the press is there to read everything they can into that. It's just crazy. But in my opinion, I think Meghan's got him wrapped around her little finger, but that's just an American way of putting it. Okay, anyway, good luck with your coronation weekend, and we send our respects to your new king. Robert Varner, by the way, my middle name is Charles. I was born very shortly after Prince Charles was born. And that's where my middle name comes from, Charles. And I don't know. People do funny things, and my mom was another one of these people totally infatuated with the British royalty. And this was back in 1951. Okay, so Elizabeth had not been on the throne for very long, if she was even on the throne then. KC2TEL, Robert Varner. K1NKX, comment period hasn't opened yet. Justin KE0TKG, hello Dave. Endotooth, hello from KG4HVQ in north central Alabama. You are a endodontist or whatever it is. I lost a tooth up here that is key to keeping my upper dentures in place. So that's the fun I'm going through now. All the pain is gone. Okay, it's just being a pain in the sense that it's not holding my dentures in place very well. But I go in next week and they'll do something. I don't know what they'll do. Let's see. From KG4HVQ in North Central Alabama. Neil Marsh, did I get hacked? Oh, yes. Did I get hacked? And whose fault was it that I got hacked? I will point the finger at the person who is responsible. It's this guy right here, okay? There were enough signs of foul play that I could have avoided it. But it was some guy who pretended to be from Bitdefender, and he was talking a good story about wanting to sponsor my channel. And I know that a lot of channels are sponsored by everything from NordVPN to whatever, and good for them. And I thought, well, I've not picked up a sponsorship. I know who Bitdefender is, and I'll see where this goes. Well, I found out where it went. He was quite the good liar, and when he sent me the contract, it turned out that was the document that had the bad code in it, and I played a very hard time getting my channel back. They don't have in the help system, in emergency, press this button, where you can get a hold of somebody. But fortunately, about a minute after I noticed I was hacked, I got a call from Steve Goodgame at the League, who said, "You've been hacked." And I looked and said, "Yes, I have." And he said another YouTuber that he knew had been hacked in exactly the same way. And so that guy got back with his contacts at YouTube, and I've got that written down now, whom I need to contact in the event that I run into this again. But they shut that channel down very quickly and worked on getting it back to me. And it was a real cooperative effort. They worked very hard to get back what they could. Like I said, they got about 5 years worth of videos back. I don't know if I'll get the rest or not, to tell you the truth. And they're all out of order. And there's really not much I can do about that. You know, they've all got new dates on them. So they don't have the date it was originally posted. They have the date it was restored. So if any of you are looking for a particular Ask Dave video, I have the originals for all of them. And I can just post that old video up there so that you can see it again. By the way, this brings up an idea. Some people have suggested that maybe I ought to publish 2 or 3 little thumb drives with 20 or 30 favorite videos on them, just so people could use them for ham club presentations or something like that. And I'm not averse to that. I can do that if people are interested. So let me know if you think it would be a good idea for me to have those available for sale. They'd probably be about the same price as the ones that I had up there for Tech General and Extra. And it's easy enough for me to make them. And I don't know, we could do it by theme. For example, I could have my most popular videos, or I could have antenna videos, grounding videos, videos on verticals, videos on multiband antennas, something like that, and see if they're interesting. So if you think that's something I should do, let me know. You know, I can always put together 1 or 2 of these and say, hey, they're available, and put a page up on my website, say, go there. It's got the link to PayPal to order it. I use PayPal as my payment processor for a very simple reason. I have very low throughput. Okay, so they don't charge me a monthly fee. They charge me on a per transaction basis. So if I have no transactions in a month, there are no charges. Now, I do have some people who make a monthly support, I can't say contribution because this is taxable, who add something monthly to the channel funds via PayPal. There's about 10 or 15 of them that are still doing that. I've been pushing Patreon because then you've got a nice user interface for that. And you can come and go and so on that. Anyway, let me know if you think that'd be a good idea. See, rainy coronation weekend, comment period. Hello, Dave, from Justin. Endotooth, okay. Did I get hacked? Yes, I got hacked. And it was my own fault. And the defect in my personality that caused that to happen was stupidity. Okay, because there were enough signs that I've caught before, but I was too interested in the guy's offer of being sponsored by Bitdefender. And I let that blind me. That was a very stupid thing to do, very stupid. Okay, Tom Bartman says, greetings from KC3USL in Philly. Great inverted V antenna video the other day, very informative. Thank you. I've always wanted to do that video. We take a dipole and then turn it into an inverted V, the standard one, 120 degrees, and then make it 90 degrees, and then make it 60 degrees, and see how that affected the antenna. And the remarkable answer to that is not nearly as much as you'd think. I mean, yeah, the 60-degree one was about 3 dB down from the dipole, but shoot, that's well within reasonable for, unless you're DXing or something like that. So, yeah. Jonathan Parananda, good evening, Dave. I've been studying and preparing for my extra class exam, July 22nd, watching all your videos about the extra class. Appreciate very much all your effort. Thanks so much. From Delta Victor 3 X-Ray Juliet Papa. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much. I hope that prepares you for it and works very well. The most recent general and extra videos are behind the ARRL paywall. But the tech videos are available for free to everyone. And that is a good reason, as good as any reason to join the league. But you also get the magazines and all the Hamfest, the representation, and in my case, somebody to call me and help me with being hacked. And so there's a lot there. So good luck on your exam. KeyPass is a great app for handling your passwords and passkeys. Michael C. says RSA key. Tom Bartman, RSA token. Robert Varner, I have a hard time finding my house keys sometimes, yes. Leo Gustafson says, Tom, I keep my passwords on a spreadsheet on my old Dell that has no connectivity. That's a good idea, too. Keep that printed out. Chris KE0OG, would you please do another version of video on the anatomy of a CWQSO? It was very good. Boy, I did that video so long ago. I think that was one of the first 10 that I did of the Ask Dave series. I'll have to put another one together. 73, Secure ID, RSA Secure ID. That's the one I was talking about. Thank you. They make them too. Tom Bartman, password dictionary attacks are simple now. Yeah, I make my passwords at least 12 characters, sometimes 16, and they're random from basically anything on an ASCII keyboard. So that's all the weird little jots and tittles and things like that are there. Carets and greater than or greater than signs and so on. And unfortunately, I can't possibly remember one of those passwords. So therefore, I have to keep things. I've got a program in here. Let's see what it's called. Password Safe. And it's by a guy who does a lot of security stuff, and his name will come to me at some point in the next 20 minutes. Okay, Dave, what do you think about the alpha 10 through 80 meter magnetic loop antenna? I did not realize alpha, is this alpha as in Alpha Delta, was making one. Alpha 10 through 80, let's see. Alpha, oops, come on. Alpha 10 through 80 mag loop. Well, they've got, no, here's alpha antenna. Okay, down here. And we have the mag loop, $600. It's not cheap. 10 through 80 has an SWR indicator. Do not exceed 10 watts while you're doing that. While tuning or the indicator lamp will fail. Okay. Let's see, 10 through 80, solution to many, they're portable, designed to handle 100 watts. Okay, fine, good. This is about the same as the MFJ. Let's see how they tune it. Start use a tune circuit. Okay, that's wonderful. 2 outer loops. Okay, field bag. Following materials. Okay, here it is. The picture of it. Now I want to know how it's tuned. Oh, the SWR indicator. Yeah, that was actually originally invented by that guy in Brazil who makes the those loops I can't remember. Okay, but what I'm not seeing is how these are tuned, if there's a separate tuner for it or something like that. If there is a separate tuner for this, this is a reasonable price. If you have to sit right next to the thing to tune it, it is not a reasonable price. So anyway, that gives you real quick feedback on what's going on there. Okay, so RSA, let's, wow. Okay, password dictionary, what do you think about the alpha? Okay, Neil Marsh says North Korea, monarchy and all but name. Yes, and I would not want to live there. Too dangerous. Too dangerous. What was the issue with the motorhome? Nothing, just Daniel service. And we couldn't get our heater to work. Turns out there's a little reset button on it. I didn't know where that was. Okay, Chris sends $10 to Channel Fund, says Chris, KE0OG. Thank you, Dave, for all you do. Thank you. Leo says, keep in touch. DJ Jackson, to be honest, that's what those news vultures do all the time to everyone. Oh, yeah. Leo Gustafson, as in the War of 1812. Yeah, that was... The Brits had this crazy idea that they could come back and solve the American problem later. They had other fish to fry. And so they came back in 1812, burned the White House, which was probably the best thing that happened to it, because then it had to be rebuilt better. But the War of 1812 actually guaranteed the independence of the United States. The British came back to take back their colonies, and they didn't get them. And when that war was over, that it was sort of definitive now. Okay, you know, Brits, give up. You're not getting us back. We still love your king, though, but we're Republicans. By the way, the word Republican in that sense means not monarchy. Not monarchy. And there are Republican forces in Great Britain and all over the world who want to do away with the monarchy. The problem with the monarchy is it's probably, all things considered, the #1 contributor to your GDP that you have in Great Britain is the monarchy. Now, you look at the budgets and go, oh, no, they're dipping out of the public purse. Now, what the monarchy brings back to you guys is worth far more than what you spend on it. So, Robert Varner, I'm a celebrity, but no one else knows that. You know, whenever I go to a Hamfest or something like that, as soon as I walk in the door, everybody knows who I am. And they come up and they greet me and all that. It's great. As soon as I walk out that door, I'm nobody. So, Pete Dayton's channel, please comment on the 175-foot run of coax to flagpole antenna, tuner at the antenna's base. That's good. LMR 400, because of the length of the run, I would recommend that, or RG213, or RG8, the old original RG8. But LMR 400 is probably the best to go with that. If you put the antenna at the base, you're going to be dealing with just 50 ohms, a 1-to-1 SWR on that cable. And so the losses will be minimal. It will work very well for you. Should. Make sure you get your radios in too. John Hawkins, KK7BUC Las Vegas in the group. Buzz stopped by to say hi. Hi, Dave. Tom Bartman, spearfishing attack. Yeah, well, I got a great big hole right in my forehead on that one. Neil Marsh, I'm glad you prevailed. Yes, so am I. It was a very weird couple of days. That was the same week that my article for QST for the July Ask Dave column was due, and it did not get done. It got done over the weekend following that after I got my channel back. That was really something. And DJ Jackson, what kind of document did you open? It was supposed to be a contract. And it had PDF on it. And then it had after that a 3 more letters that I did not recognize. And I thought, oh, that had something to do with the way it was bundled. Took it off, wouldn't open. I clicked on it once, which was stupid. I didn't realize that SCR is an executable file. It's normally a screensaver, but it can contain executable code. And, oh, I was stupid to do that. Stupid, stupid, stupid. But be that as it may, I did it. It's done. Thank you all for your support getting that thing back. John Hawkins, KK7BUC Las Vegas in the group. Buzz stopped by to say hi, Dave. Hi, Dave. Spearfishing. Let's see what kind of, yeah, that's the kind of document I opened. Don't do that. Tom Bartman, because I was looking for a contract, and I was just absolutely sure that whatever I was going to find there was a contract, and it wasn't. A reminder to back up your stuff to make a second copy. Now, yeah, I've been kind of doing that. I do keep everything backed up. For a while, I was keeping a copy at a friend's off-site, but I need a way to write to that without having to go pick up that disk drive. Anthony Becerra, Dave, yes, it would be great to sell thumb drives of my greatest hits. Well, thank you. Robert Moss, W7WOW listening. Terrence, 2 Echo India Papa Kilo. That Ida Hill power supply video would be good because I'm looking to purchase one or something similar for outside. I have done a bunch of those videos, and because people keep sending me these power units. And let me make a note to see if the Ida Hill one is on there. Ida Hill. The bunch came through. We just did another one on a really great big machine there. Chris, K0BLU, do you need financial or time help making a topical index or numerical index of your videos? I'd sure love to have one. But unless somebody were to make it for me and keep it up, I wouldn't be able to. It'd be nice for getting videos back, because if they don't show up, we can always just re-upload them. Like I said, I've got all the Ask Dave videos back to Ask Dave number 1. Warren Baker, Neil Marsh. I tried twice to put up where you can find the PDF manual for your antenna, but it's being removed by someone. Email me through QRZ. Okay, Edhem Blokovich adds $10 and says thank you. CL running each pole of a dipole out parallel like a random wire, say lines 2 inches apart. Well, if they're right next to each other, you turn your antenna elements into a transmission line, which won't radiate. So let's see, MJ sends $10, says thank you, and I thank you. Neil Mars says, Warren Baker, I'll shoot you a message. I think links are turned off for this channel. Yeah, they are. You can't put links in here, and that's the way it was set. I don't know of any way to set it up otherwise. KE0OG, hi Dave. And Dave, AC3HT, adds $5. Says, Dave, thanks for the live stream. Always informative, friendly, and fun. Thank you very much. He also says, best wishes. James McDonough, all right, Dave, watching from England. Harry Rundle sends $10 and says, thank you, Dave, for all your great content. Sorry you were hacked. Your die of creating hot sticks with your video content, I would buy them. Our club uses your videos for our technical sessions. Well, thank you. David C502, current technology, 12 characters, upper, lower, special numbers. Special characters, only about 34,000 years to brute force it. Expect this number to go down as the years progress. Yes. Chris G7VEO, with my inverted V, it doesn't seem to affect it that much, where the ends are dropped down and bent back. Yeah. You can do all kinds of things with antennas that would ordinarily be a good antenna, but you just can't get it in a straight line. Yes, you can bend it and so on. Okay. SMSTIAO, Technologia. Mr. Dave, good night. Thanks for your lessons. CL, 34,000 years to BF, 1 minute to be finished. Yes. D.J. Jackson, means part of a republic. Yeah, and I wanted to just finish that. Our form of government in the United States is a republic. What that means is a democracy like Switzerland. You actually do direct elections on most questions of any importance, are put to the vote. And we can't possibly do that here. We couldn't do it back in the early days because of the distances involved. No telegraph, no nothing like that. So we elected representatives who went to a central meeting place to decide the issues for us. And then we had regular elections. Okay. And there's a lot of history here. I'm really skipping over lots and lots of parts of it. But the bottom line, this idea of electing representatives to go legislate for you is a Republican form of government. Now, there are two major parties in the U.S., the Democrat and the Republican, and a bunch of itty-bitty, teensy-weensy, tiny ones. Whereas in the UK, you've got three major parties. You go to other countries like Italy, and there might be 10, and it just makes for a mess. And the US is kind of stuck with two parties for a long time. There have been various attempts at a third party. With Ross Perot. He started a third party that actually was big enough to throw the election. So anyway, that's the way we work. Now, England is not a monarchy. It's a constitutional monarchy. Now, the thing is, the American Constitution, you can go read it. It's not true in England. What is considered constitutional is an assembly of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, modified by this, and so on. And it was fairly recent, up until fairly recently, that the House of Lords took the position of the Supreme Court, but now they've got their own Supreme Court, so less for the Lords to do, I guess. Anyway, very different forms of government. Now, what's interesting is that English common law, a common law means the way people conventionally behave. And in England, it's this body of behaviors that's not all written down is called common law, the common law. And in the U.S., we picked up that technique here, except in Louisiana. Louisiana is governed by the Napoleonic Code. But in the rest of the country, the English common law prevails. And it's interesting because the common law constantly shifts because of precedents set in courts and so on. And it is interesting that some people from time to time cite English common law in an American lawsuit. So there is a lot of similarity between our judicial systems. Okay, let's see here. Enough on that. Only about 34,000 years to brute. Okay, let's see. Good night. Let's see what's up, Dave from W5ATK. Glad you're doing okay. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG adds $15 to the chat revenue. Thank you. And Optical Man Jeff said, sorry, I forgot to say thanks for everything. Yeah, PDF.scr. Yes, that's what the extension was. And normally that would be a very red flag for me. The other thing that was the red flag was that the guy's email was topmanager@bitdefender.com. No one has an email address topmanager at some big company. No one does that. That was a huge red flag. And then there was the PDF SCR, which should have been a huge red flag. And then when funny things started popping up on the screen, I should have grabbed the electricity for this thing and unplugged it. Stopped it right there, but my bad. I screwed up. Eddie K6SDW, I've been a subscriber almost from the beginning of KE0OG, but not now getting your notifications anymore. They used to send out notifications by email, and they no longer do that. You can get notifications like on your screen if you want. You can get notifications on your iPhone. I get lots of notifications on my phone. I get some on here too, but I do not normally get notifications. Well, I don't get them by email. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications, even if you want it said. So check one of those messages. Check to make sure you're actually still subscribed. It will say that under a video on your computer screen. It'll say subscribed. If it doesn't, go ahead and resubscribe, because the problem is that every so often YouTube audits the subscribers, and if they haven't heard anything from somebody in a while, they'll set that aside. I mean, the account will still be there, but they'll stop using it in people's subscribers' accounts. What they don't want is for people to be creating massive pools of email addresses so that you can instantly create 150,000 subscribers, you know. So they do try to check through those things like that. Yeah, there's no more email notifications. Art, love to hear you talk about using WinLink on HF. I have only used on VHF. Thanks. I'm going to write that down, WinLink, because I've been intending on doing that for time. WinLink. There are some things going on VHF in terms of connectivity that I need to get on to and work on those. Okay. Harry Grundle, I think we've met. Phil, KE2QIK, hello from Kalamazoo, Michigan. DJ Jackson, we are somewhere between a representative democracy and a republic. Well, a representative democracy is by definition a republic. So definitely, if you look at our Constitution, it's the Constitution for a republic. Now, the elections are democratic. It used to be back in ancient times, not all that long ago, the House of Representatives was the House of the people. Each state got a number of representatives that was proportional to their population. And the number was starting to get out of hand as the country grew. So they did some sort of a constitutional amendment that tops out the number of representatives in the House at 435. And so there's this big jockey every time we have census, the decennial census, because that will rejockey. You know, a state could lose a seat and another state gain a seat and that kind of thing. It gets really political. Now, the Senate was created not to represent the people, but to represent the states. And there would be 2 senators from every state, regardless of size. The idea of the Senate was to preserve the influence of the smaller states, like Vermont or something like that, you know, or Wyoming, which has, 1 congressman and 2 senators. There are an awful lot of people who want the senators to represent the people and be proportionalized, but why? You've got the House of Representatives for that. The Senate is not capped at 100. It's capped at 2 per state. So if Puerto Rico becomes a state, we'll get 2 senators from Puerto Rico and several congressmen, because it's pretty populous down there. But the idea was that the governor or the state legislature would appoint the senators. And these would be people who would definitely be establishment people, who would go there to represent their states. And for many, many years, it was thought of as the biggest gentleman's club in Washington. But then there was a move afoot about 100 years ago to directly elect the senators. And now every state directly elects the senators. Now, if a senator dies in office, the governor of that state appoints the successor. And it has been the tradition that he will appoint the wife of the person who died, who will then serve out the remainder of her husband's term. Well, now it's all different. You know, it's too important. You know, like, for example, one case right now, Senator Dianne Feinstein is in terrible condition, both mentally and physically. And she's a Democratic senator. And this is extremely important to the Democratic Party. And there's been a lot of push for her to resign so that the Democratic governor can replace her, yada, 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 yada. But positions on various committees in various houses are obtained by method of seniority. So if you appoint the guy's wife, she goes there with no seniority and therefore no committee assignments. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, I think in spite of the problems we have, you know, we talk about misinformation on the internet. Go look up William Randolph Hearst on Wikipedia and the Yellow Press, and you will find out that this misinformation campaign has long and deep roots in American history. So, Thomas Jefferson would call the USA a democratic republic. He was a very interesting man. He was a slaveholder. He invented the style of government that we use today. This is a Jeffersonian democracy. because of his race, past, a lot of people don't want to put him up on a pedestal quite so much. But the fact of the matter is, I consider him the real father of the country, in the sense of creating the structure, the constitutional structure we use now. Of course, George Washington was the popular figure who pulled everything together. Two parties, the people and the government. No, I don't think so. It's not that bad. We're Democratic Republic, yeah. Pull out your civics textbook and check it out. Tom Bartman, I am a cybersecurity professional and still learning the spearphishing attacks. Bad guys are getting more slick. We all live and learn. Glad you recovered. Thank you. Optical Man Jeff, Dave, I have an RSP1 that I wanted to listen to HF at the office. I have an active antenna. I tried a long wire out the window and cannot receive anything on my RSP1. Any ideas? Well, the problem with a long wire, without it also being grounded, is there's a very real possibility of static building up on the wire, and it will zap the input. So you want to connect ground first and then connect your other. But take it home and make sure it still does work. And in that case, the problem with a lot of those big office buildings is the windows don't open and they are tinted. And the tinting uses a metal in the process there, and that will keep most of the radio waves out. So it becomes hard to pick up HF things in an office like that. So, so make sure, take it home, make sure it still works, and then figure out a way. For example, you can connect the ground side of it to your computer, to the back plate of the computer, because those screws all screw into the aluminum chassis, which is at ground level. It is grounded by the third wire ground in your plugs there. Okay. Curious what difference I can expect if I replace my 11-meter inverted V-dipole with an Antron 99 for DX. I don't know. The Antron 99 is not an antenna I recognize. It's a CB antenna. Take a look at it. An 11-meter inverted V is the equivalent of a dipole. If your Antron has gain in it, then it will be, you've got the problem of where to point it. This is the problem I've discovered with my hex beam, is if I want to just tune around, where do I point the antenna? So that's a problem you don't have with the unity gain antenna. Let's see. YouTube notification worked as it should until you got hacked. Try resubscribing. See if that helps. Stephen Arbogast, ham radio and model railroading in US and UK. Very cool hobbies. Model trains are becoming more on Wi-Fi, which is radio. Your thoughts? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi on your trains. And a lot of people are doing them so they can, they don't have to sit there and manually control the voltage to a track and so on. Dave, there is an age limit on becoming a private pilot. Is there an age limit on becoming a private pilot? No, except on the bottom end, 16. In my 70s now, so am I. And by the way, I got to tell you, that wheel that I was looking for, I talked with the manufacturer and got the real skinny. They have serious supply chain problems, but he gave me the model number and another place to go, Azusa Parts out in Azusa, California. And I have one on its way to me as we speak now. And as soon as I get that, that is the last part that we have to get that thing back in the air. I want to fly so bad I can taste it. So Neil Marsh, between Billy Hurst and Harry J. Anslinger, we got the war on drugs. Well, there are a lot of other people involved in that too. That hasn't worked. None of the methods that have been tried to get people off drugs have worked. Some work better than others. And throwing the force of law behind it hasn't helped. And you got to think about it. The reason the Mexican cartels exist and Mexico is so stinking dangerous is because of American demand for drugs. If the Americans did not demand drugs, the cartels would collapse in a heartbeat. Sort of. Back in the 1920s, during Prohibition, people wanted their booze. So organized crime moved in and provided booze for people. There were constant run-ins with the law, many people killed, all that sort of thing like that. And they had 10 years to get themselves established. And then once Prohibition was over, those crime syndicates moved on to other things. They didn't disappear. They moved on to other things. Prostitution and so on and so forth. Everything. Just lots of stuff. So I think that we've just gone down a very bad path on that. D. Jackson, not surprising. I get great reception with a long wire on my RSP. Technically a random wire. Use a balun on it. Or you can use a little capacitor on the thing to technically tune it up a little bit. Robert Christian, Dave, my space heater turns on and to high temp when my HF transmits. How can I stop that? A choke on the electric cord? That will help, yes. Also, you've got RF in the shack. So if I were you, I would go through your grounding system again. Make sure you've got a ground rod right outside your shack, that you've got a single point ground in the shack, and that single point ground is connected in turn to the ground. All of your antennas come to the ground rod where they go through lightning arresters or lightning surge suppressors, and then come into the house, okay? To keep all the stuff, you want to keep the RF out of the house. And that may help with your RFI problem on that radio. It's something you should do anyway. But yeah, ferrite beads should be able to help that. Great reception with random wire. Let's see, space heater. Dave, is there a tutorial available on the EZNEC antenna analysis software? Yes, many. But where to get them? Harry, I have a copy of a league publication on how to model antennas with EZNEC, and then he retired, and they stopped issuing that book, which is a shame. The way to learn antenna modeling is to think like the software. Everything comes down to the wire list. The wire list is every element that's in there. So like a dipole, you'd have two wires. And then you can string them together, connector to connector, and where they're fed and everything. But everything emanates from that wire list. And you have to play some games. Like when I did that video on the inverted V, I had to do a little trigonometry to figure out where to put the ends of those antennas. But I got it to work. You can probably find a fair amount online for looking at that. There are other antenna modeling software suites. For NEC2, the number 4, NEC and the number 2, is a European thing that's getting to be quite popular with Americans. And there's another one out there that's very popular too. Okay, yeah, E-Haze, been a ham 50 years, and yes, The Antron 99 will work quite well on both 11 meters and 10. 73 from WA4ELW in Tennessee, and he's logging out. If people are logging out, we better do our drawing, shouldn't we? Okay, as a refresher, I've got two of these family radio service handhelds. Two, because if you just have one, you have nobody to talk to. So there's two of them coming together. It's not first and second prize. This is the only prize, okay? And I know interest has been literally thin, okay, on these. People would like radios and stuff like that. And I actually have given away most of the ones I had. So we'll keep coming up with, and if I come up with something really cool, we'll do it. Now I have sorted these, and so I'm going to stick my finger in the middle, okay, and we're going to take the one on the bottom. And the one on the bottom is from Tupelo, Mississippi. Got a nice card for Tupelo. And it's Michael Angle, KI5YFH. Michael Angle, KI5YFH. And these will go in the mail, and it will come via mail. Maybe even as soon as tomorrow. Okay? That's another thing you can do with PayPal is print out shipping labels very easily. Now the rest of these that are right here are going to go into the shred pile. They'll be shredded except for this one right here, which has a yellow sticky on it. It has a letter in it that I need to answer. Okay, and they'll go into that. And then Michael will get his entry back. So I don't keep records on these things. I mean, I suppose I could go back and check all the old live streams and do that. But congratulations to you, and there you go. Okay. You know, Winston Churchill talked about democracy. He says it's absolutely the worst form of government there is. It's terrible. Worst form of government there is, except for all the others. And so wherever you are, I mean, people have issues, you know. So I'm grateful we've got this. It's been 20 years since Newt Gingrich really created a fundamental power struggle between the Democrats and Republicans. 20 years, we've survived. We're doing fine. And I think we will continue to. Okay. Oh, I wanted to tell you about something I bought that I'm going to play with. This is an EMF tester, electromagnetic field tester. And it claims from a company I've never heard of called Eric Hill. And this is it right here. And I guess I can push the button to electronic meter. This tells you the actual value, claims to tell you the actual value of the RF field in here. 0.08 milliwatts per meter squared, which is nowhere near the limits. Okay. Now, I have no idea how accurate this is, and I have no idea how to test how accurate it is. So, but I'm going to be playing with this a little bit. It, in theory, will measure electric fields, magnetic fields, and electromagnetic fields, which it refers to as RF. So I'm thinking the magnetic and electric fields, if you measure just those, are like 60 hertz for the power lines, and like a certain amount of magnetism, like from a machine or something. And it's interesting. Humans are definitely susceptible to electric fields. Definitely. but do not appear to be susceptible to magnetic fields. Up at the hospital here, they have a fairly new MRI machine, 3 Tesla coil on that thing, 3 Teslas. That is an immense amount of magnetism. The Earth's magnetic field puts out in the microteslas. But they use that because what it does in your body is it lines up all the atoms and molecules so that they are along a magnetic field line. So it actually twists every molecule in your body around so that they're all lined up, and then it can shoot X-rays through that at different places and so on, and get some very interesting pictures. So, but that's a huge magnetic field, 3 Teslas. So, okay, we did the giveaway. Let's see. The other European antenna modeling is, back, let's see, Warren Baker, got him. By the way, we're doing this entire video on Starlink. So, and it seems to have done pretty well. I think now that they've put more satellites up, it's a little bit better. Okay, Dave, one more question. Is there a PC program that will transmit via my FTDX in Morse code? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Any of the second generation of digital mode software. So I'm talking about FLDG, Ham Radio Deluxe, stuff like that. All of that will transmit Morse code over your radio, and certainly the FTDX10. Between your FTDX10 and your computer, you have one USB cable. And you have to have 2 USB drivers to do that. One of them is an enhanced driver. And it will not only send audio back and forth, but also simultaneously control commands and so on, as well as the audio. And like on the ICOM 7300, if you have the right software, you can actually see the spectrum diagram on your computer screen. So yes, now the way it sends Morse code is to send tones. It's just like sending RIDI with tones instead of actually keying the radio. There are people who try to draw a technical distinction between audio frequency shift keying and regular frequency shift keying. I've never heard the difference on the air. And most RIDI signals these days are audio frequency shift keyed, although a lot of the higher end radios you can key directly. The 7300 can be keyed directly. Okay, let's see. We're getting down to our last couple minutes here. And so 50,000 nanotesla would be 50 microtesla. Okay, e-reader is going berserk with automatic transmission of random characters is driving me nuts. Disconnecting it from my PC and it ceased. Yeah, well, you got that driver issue all over too. We did the giveaway. You know, government ideas start out as private ideas. And in order for the government to pass it, they've got to convince enough people of it that it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Do you know the government actually, in World War II, decided that bread slicers, which are made of steel, were needed, that steel was needed in the war effort, so housewives should start slicing their own bread. There was an immediate rise in hospital emergency room cases of housewives having sliced themselves in the process of slicing bread. Also, everybody discovered that they had actually forgotten how to slice bread, because it used to be that loaves were baked at home and you had to do your own slicing at home. In fact, when I make bread in our bread maker, I've got a device that will hold the bread loaf and guide the knife down it, the electric knife down it, as I slice it this way, so the slices are all uniform. And it's crazy. But anyway, the government had to give up on it pretty quickly because it turned out it created more of a problem than it solved. So they went back to allowing the bread makers to slice the bread. Fact. Lovely. Okay. Yes, you can transmit. Now, what a lot of people do is on contests are generally often done machine to machine. So you can let your computer read the code and you can correct it manually if there's an issue, and then it will spit out the response, generally about 35 words a minute. For my 464, let's see, the problem with, yeah, this has been the same problem for many generations. If you want to read some really wild rules for people, read Exodus. And it's full of rules, all kinds of rules. On the fight between the left and the right, I cheer for the fight, yeah. There is something to be said for government to have one party in the White House and the other party in Congress. They'll get the essentials done, but they won't go off the wall, like they someday do. Anyway, I'm a new ham. What material would be best for an antenna mast for a Comet CX333 and a 20-meter inverted V? Inverted V. Okay, go to dcasler.com/reference and start looking in there for different kinds of things that you might want, because there's a list in there of everything that you would need. Also, search on my channel for antenna mast, because I do have a recommendation for that. 2 pieces of chain link fence top rail. They'll actually, one will slide into the other, and then you guy it at the top, and you're 20 feet in the air. Which is about the highest that I can get right here. Okay, while a medical student in Philly, there was an incident where a metal gas cylinder flew from an unsecured hand truck and ended up suspended in mid-air of an RMI toroidal superconducting magnet. I believe it, and heaven help you if anybody got in the way of that tank. Man, that tank wasn't going to stop for anything. Wow. Okay, we're wrapping up here. Glenn Martin, Ablakovich, Becerra, Christian, thank you for your kind words about my service. DJ Jackson, Zeto Burko, Melinda, learning a lot, and she's going to take the test next week. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Fired off an email to MFJ Technical Support. Okay, 73, until next week. Good night, everyone. Good night to all. 73.